that is connected. It's in the kind of nearby the groin, up in the groin area from the back of the thigh inner part down into the back towards kind of like up to the hamstring of the calf. It's just like basically right in that thigh area and in the groin.
Right. But do you know that if she tore all of them, did she? Because she tells us that she tore her ACL, her MCL, and her PCL. She tore all three of them in this, cheerleading split. And so we were just wondering. I was wondering, I guess, did you know if she has told you that she tore all three, or are you unaware because of your
She
distance?
only told me just that it was one. I did not know if there was others. And then again, with Becky, you gotta understand when she speaks about stuff, she's not even accurately specific half the time when she tells stuff, nor can she retain half of what she says. And if she does, she chooses not to care about what she says. And then she will then, as soon as you repeat that back to her and you then ask her these kinds of things about, well, has this happened or has that actually been true and this and that? And she'll just act like, well, that never was said or you don't know nothing. Just twist it all back on you, treat you like the bad guy and act like you're wrong when she's the one out there just telling you all this shit about her personal shit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm telling you is like, so literally, so there's been times, well, actually multiple times where I have called her out or other people have called her out about saying something, and then she'll tell us that we're lying, and then we post the video proof, and she will still tell us to till she's blue in her face, that we're the ones who are lying. She can't keep her lies straight, her story straight. So it does sound like you guys, that's the only thing that she did tear, which is her ACL, which would make a lot of more sense than ACL, PCL, MCL. You guys, the fact that I said that 5 times in a row correct, I'm proud of myself. But anyways, okay. So people are asking about the condition of the trailer. Will you explain what it's like on the inside of the trailer the last time you've seen it?
Well, last times that I've ever been in their home, it wasn't as bad as it is now. They, of course, though, I remember over the years started to have a leakage problem in their bedroom on their ceiling. And that was due to because of the weather had like corroded the top of their roof and making this pliable wood like kind of soak up to the point to where it started to break away. So the rain every time or the snow, if it was any kind of form of water just going on top would just kind of like start leaking through. And they would have buckets all the time, just trying to keep water from not going on their bed or on their floor. And then I can't remember. There was something wrong with maybe even my brother's bedroom, but I don't remember what. But there was something there too, but I just don't remember. And then, of course, in those years to come, y'all learned about the bed bug issue that they had. So that was something else too. And the majority, I guess, ended up in there because of to Carl and the house that he came from before he moved back in and attracted it in, and they ended up with it. And Alexander's room ended up with the majority of that they were fighting to deal with. His mattress, I heard, was covered in that one time, along with, of course, theirs later.
So we've heard. So every time she goes live, when she sits in that back bedroom, she has that water spot up, like that you were just talking about. And people will ask about it. They'll be like, that come in and get her, troll her just to get a rise out of it. And they'll be like, why, your ceiling is going to collapse, that's mold and stuff like that. She swears up and down that that's not mold. She says every single time, that's not mold, that's plastic. And she says that they spent $6,500 to get that roof fixed. But from what I understand is FEMA came out and helped them repair it. And so can you confirm or deny, is there plastic up in that spot, or is that mold like the rest of us are saying?
From what I've seen, and even that one video you had with her and discussing about it, I'd say that looks like mold because plastic does not look black and it doesn't look like it's about to puncture a big giant sized fist through it. So, yeah.
Okay, all right. So we just want to make sure. And so, how do you know how bad the bed bugs are currently?
From what I heard, my dad once told me back some months ago that the bed bugs have all been inoculated and killed and, out of their house. But they said there was one area in this area of the living room where my brother likes to play his game system. And apparently they had spotted a few more in that area. But I don't know as to if that is still an issue ongoing and if they've ever actually taken care of it. but I know that anytime that I ever had to be in their house, I just avoid from being in certain areas where there was bed bugs because I don't want to have
Right.
that being lingering on me and then me have it in my home. Because I one time years ago had bed bugs due to a neighbor in Iowa, and I remember my wife and I when we lived in this apartment. We had a hard time dealing with the bed bugs, so we took some advice from her mom that told us to use like a Clorox bleach spray and inoculate the whole house and sectioning off certain areas to prevent airflow. So when we did that, it worked. Plus, vacuuming was one of those tactics to getting rid of them, and it worked out successfully. But I don't want to go through that process again. So
Yeah,
I try to keep.
it's a lot. Bed bugs are a big handful. So what she said, give me a second, Pillow Princess. So what we have heard from lives, like I said, everything we know about her basically has come from a live. We have Mountain Dew. I would hope so, Mountain Dew. But so with the bed bug situation, Alexander had at one time a couple months ago said that that there was bed bugs on the chair and stuff like that. And Grandma Faye is Grandma Faye supposed to have a home health care nurse that comes in and check on her? Do you know?
At the time when she had her own apartment and her own house, she had someone that would come and I guess do medical procedures for her and take care of her. But I don't know if that's an ongoing thing still. While now that she has been living with my dad and her daughter, so all I know is that my dad's been stressed out due to this arrangement where she lives with them. And there's a lot of backstory to that because I can understand why. I mean, I've experienced some things that just did not seem all too right with the fact that he's a person that if you haven't figured out when it comes to problems, he can't handle them too well. So his way of handling problems is to get drunk and enraged and angry and just voicefully lash out. And so he has been that way towards even Faye, because Faye has a way of making people feel a certain type of rage.
Okay, so they're wondering, is Faye as bad as Becky? Do you think that's where Becky learned her tactics from? Is that how bad Faye actually is, or is she not as bad?
He honestly, I say compared to Becky, Faye is not really as bad as Becky. Faye's actually more of at times more often a laid back person than Becky is. Becky will play off like she's laid back, but she's not because Becky doesn't know when to shut her mouth.
Right. So we were actually told that she was still supposed to have a home health care nurse even while living at the trailer, but that the nurse had stopped coming to said trailer because of the bed bugs. They told the family that they needed to professionally spray before the nurse had come back to the house, and because they have yet to do so, that Faye is not getting any, home health care help and stuff like that. So she's kind of dwindling by herself, because nobody's taking care of her at a medical level like she should be. And are you aware that she, sleeps in the living room in the recliner chair because the boys won't give up their bed, and that she just sleeps basically sitting up, and kind of isolated, I guess. It's just, yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah, I heard about that, and honestly, in their situation, it's a three-bedroom home. Oh no, wait, yeah, three-bedroom home and one bathroom. That they have to basically share that. And the living room is a bit more big than the rest of their home. So yeah, I can imagine that Faye would had to start sleeping in that recliner. My dad's not happy about that, neither is Becky, but yet they chose to take her on because one, Faye did not listen to them about how to proceed with getting her home all taken care of to move into. And so Faye put that off, putting her out on the street herself. And so they wanted to spare her from that, but at the cost of their own sanity.
Right. So basically, and so Faye ends up getting caught, making all the meals and stuff like that. And how do do you agree with, or do you know about that Faye gets stuck cooking all the meals, and basically being the incoming maid because Becky does not want to get up and do such things, and Carl and Carl and Alexander don't come and and they want to know, does Faye come with a check? Does Faye bring money into the household? Is that another reason that you think that they brought Faye into the trailer?
I don't know if it was for financial purposes. Honestly, I think it was more of a genuine that they wanted to help her out in hopes that she would probably get her life back in track for her to be on her own like she was.
Right.
But as for financial reasons, I don't know if that was the case. I think that honestly, it was just the fact that now they're just getting tired of having her there, and they can't, for some reason, just simply figure out a way to get her out of their home because a lot of resources are turning away from helping them out in other situations, like such as the Rocks Community Service. I even had help from them, and I learned from the guy who ran the business that he was planning on not wanting to continue helping anybody else out no more in their program, due to a lot of people more so than just my family that has taken advantage of their program and abused the help that they get. Though, of course, my family, I'd say, is though not as bad with the abuse on the help in that terms, because they did find and used it properly to have the home they have. So that was a success over the years when they finally got into the place that they got into and had for years since then. But their situation with Faye, I think, is just a complicated situation. And as for Faye cooking, she might cook, I think, maybe once in a while, but I don't think she cooks all the time because Becky's told me that she herself has cooked. But then again, you hear things from Becky. How do you know she's really telling the truth?
I can tell you right now, Becky does not do the cooking because, like, literally every single live, Becky will talk about, is grandma cooking? Is grandma cooking? Is grandma cooking?
Yep.
So they believe that, she's trying to make it, whatever.
Sound pretty reasonable, and it's not. And then I'll tell you, the real person who's actually cooking majority of the time is my dad, and that might seem hard to believe because he drinks, but outside of his drinking, he's a pretty decent guy when he's sober. I mean,
I've heard he makes a good homemade pizza. Becky has definitely talked about his homemade pizza being good. She has said that he definitely has done the cooking, so we've definitely have heard that. So with your going off of what you said in regards to the program that you had used and the program and that the guy doesn't want to help anybody, are you aware of your family using and abusing the help from like the Salvation Army and stuff like that in town? Because we have heard that they are not allowed to utilize the Salvation Army and different resources in Mitchell because they have over abused them. Are you aware of any of that?
I remember though hearing about that they stopped using Salvation Army, but I did not know why. They at times, if I was ever around them and if they was in the car, going somewhere with them, they would never really specifically give me full detail on that. I just didn't really, though, of course, care to really want to explore more into it because I learned after a time, the more that they kept on bringing me involved in their problems, I ended up being the bad guy later on. So I just kind of like would just act like I was interested, even though I really wasn't. I would just like hear them, but not really give two cares about them and their problems because I knew if I was to go in further, it would just turn on me. So if that's the case, then that's on them because they should have known better. I mean, it sucks that they can't get the help that they need for a lot of things, but that was their own choices in what they did. However, it led up to them not having the help that they should have been able to have.
Right, exactly. So I've got another question from in the chat. Do you know why Carl does not have his driver's license? What is stopping him from getting his license? Is he just, lazy, or does he have, kind of like DUI or like, speeding tickets? Why does Carl not have his driver's license? Do you know that?
I don't know particularly full detail on that. I mean, I know that he was supposed to get one. He was working on it. He knows how to drive. He knows how to follow the rules of the road. He had at least one car accident. And then he even took a speeding ticket for a friend, which was foolish choice on his part. So I don't know if he ever took care of that business or not. I mean, I really don't know a whole lot in that detail. I just know that he wants to. He's told me he wants to get his license. That way he could be more sufficiently able to drive more properly and be able to be recognized by the law that he's following the rules of the road while he door dashes, of course. And he's even contemplating about getting a better, decent job than just door dashing. So I'm hoping that he actually follows through.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, we all do, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, even though they drive us freaking crazy, we want them to fix their situation, and that's our hope is like, that's why people have offered resources. They've been offered lots of resources. I know you're not from TikTok, so you're not really sure on stuff. But like, there's definitely people. There's a gentleman called All for One. He has so many resources. He's called something called a link tree, where you can go in there and find basically anything you need help with. He's even been in Becky's live to like go up and offer resources in regards to getting minutes on the phone and stuff like that. There's an amazing person on here called OG Pet Rescue. She even offered to take all the dogs that were alive at the moment. I believe it was 4. Don't quote me. And to take them to the vet in town to get their vaccinations, groomed, and all that stuff. And she just has an excuse for everything, unfortunately. That being said, people are wondering, what do you know, like the condition of the current dogs that are in the home? Because obviously there's just Roxy and Dino that are still there. Have you seen the dogs be matted, and not taken care of, and like what kind of conditions have you seen the animals in?
When they had a full set, I believe was originally 8 dogs total before the majority of them all passed, besides the 2 remaining. There's of course now just those 2 out of, I think it was a total of 6 that passed away.
Right.
One of them was the oldest dog of the family that actually started off with me and my sister growing up in Las Vegas. So he's been a family dog that was passed down through the family that Dad and Ashley one time, I guess, found years ago one summer when I was just a teenager and she was a teenager. So they brought the dog home and hid him from me because they were fearful of the fact that they thought I was going to do something to this dog. And of course, I never did, though. Of course, I was a young kid back then and thought it was funny when I did stuff. But I learned my lesson when the dog got me good. So, after that, though, I mean, this dog, he made a family, and their furs were contributed to Roxy and him. His name was Benji. And he was the oldest living dog, a beloved dog. Everyone loved him because he was just a good dog. I mean,
That's the one that Alexander really was liked a lot, right? Was Benji, right?
yes, Benji. Benji is also named after from the movie The Love for Benji. And the funny thing is that the dog looks exactly like the one from the movie. That's how he got his name. He was just always a character. I mean, the dog was very talented, even at an old age. So, but his fur, I think, was more kept up easy for them than it was for the others. Dallas and Zeus, they were more of a thicker coat, so it was a little bit difficult at times, I think, for them, but they did the best they could. And then, the matted fur and everything wasn't a good sight to see. Sadly, due to health problems, they eventually did die, not because of their hair.
Unalive. Don't say DIE, unalived, but that's okay. I figured it. You're good. I know you don't do TikTok. You're fine. So
Yeah.
we have seen their fur matted, unfortunately, and so that's what caused a lot of people to get really upset with Becky and them guys. Just the pure negligence in regards to the matting, and her refusal to go to the vet, even being offered free care and such. And so that brings up the next question in regards to Carl, Duke, and Dakota. Are they real dogs? Are they in the trailer? And what do you know about them?
Well, I barely saw one's head sticking out of the bedroom one night when I went over to try to get a ride home due to the weather was pretty rainy and damp out, and I didn't want to get soaked walking home, so I had no ride home and I needed to get home, and I just quickly walked over to their house from where my job is, and while I was in there, I was introduced to one of the dogs, but I didn't see the other one that Carl has, but I only saw the one, but I could hear him in the back room or the one room that Carl has, and they were just kind of like making a little noise, like they were happy or something, and just barking because I was just someone that they couldn't see because I was there. So they're doing what dogs normally do, which I'm familiar with because I've had dogs. I mean, this is how they're going to behave. But I feel for them because I remember when my wife and I back then, when me and her were married, we had this few set of blue healers. And the same thing happened with them. We had to keep them in the room because of the family dogs, besides the 2 that have been still currently living. When the others were around, they just, I don't know, they didn't get along with other dogs but their own. Some about other breeds that they just don't like. The small dogs pretty much dominate the house. So to keep any issues or conflict from happening, it's just best to, I guess, in their opinion, to put the dogs in the other rooms, which is unfortunately unfair, but those are their dogs that they will put as priority over anyone else's.
So what are they? Can you confirm that they are pit bull dogs? Is that the breed of the Duke and Dakota then?
I've heard that they are, but I have not officially seen them like in front of me. Like they were not like fully full present. They were just only by one's head sticking out. But I can't tell by a head. I have to see the whole body for really me to know the breed.
Absolutely, yeah. So here's, and this is what we know about him is Dakota is Carl's, Duke is John's, his friend that is currently incarcerated. And so they're keeping it because the girlfriend moved and was not able to take the dog with, so they're holding on to this dog for him until November when he's supposedly supposed to get out. And so we were concerned because we have never heard these dogs. And with Carl's, obviously I know how hot South Dakota gets because, I've lived there, whatever, the humidity and all that craziness. And does Carl have any airflow in his bedroom? Because that's what our concern is, that they were kept in this room, and the door shut, during the hot, humid days. And is there any airflow in Carl's room that would have gave them some sort of relief at all?
Um, well, from my own experience being I've been in that room, and when my ex-wife and I had stayed there and slept in that room, we were told that there is airflow, but not good enough airflow. Something about that the air conditioner or whatever is not working well there, and they had to have like I guess fans in there. I remember because it gets pretty hot in there. It's like basically putting yourself in a giant size oven. And it's unbreathable if the door or the bedroom window is not open, but the bedroom window can never be open due to because of an ex-girlfriend of mine. We ended up doing something in that room, and after since then that window cannot ever be open again, because it was just a moment. I'll just say that it was a moment between her and I, and my family decided no more window openings. So
Okay, perfect. We'll just leave that one to the imagination. So that's what our concern is. Like, so there was a day or a time when Becky got on live and was like, talking about that it was hot, stuff like that. We've asked about Duke and Dakota, and stuff like that, and she admitted that they did not feed those dogs. Well, Becky said that it was not her responsibility or anybody else's responsibility to feed those dogs. So Duke and Dakota went without food for 2 days, and she decided to finally, she said, I felt nice enough as I walked by the room. I went in there to feed them, and that she got cornered in the room and got bit basically because of food aggression. Do you know anything about her getting bit by the dogs from lack of feeding?
I didn't know about the lack of feeding, but she did tell me one day that she did get bit by one of the dogs. I did not know or pay, or again, like usual, I don't really care half the time to pay attention to her if I'm in close in person proximity with her, because I'm just to this point when it comes to her, it's just a matter of if I don't block her out, then I'm likely to fucking lose my shit and then black out and do something bad.
Fair enough. I mean, and that's what we were told is because she said that the dogs were not her responsibility. So, well, Carl was out trying to get freaky deaky with the pregnant girlfriend of John's while he was in prison. The dogs didn't get fed because nobody in the household wanted to feed the dogs because it wasn't their responsibility. But Roxy and Dino got fed, whatever. But Becky said she felt nice one day and went in there and fed them, and that they cornered her in the room and bit her, and that's why Duke and Dakota got taken away and put in a 10-day quarantine, because they ended up having to go up to the hospital because Becky was bleeding profusely, as she says. And so they had to go in there and get their baby shots and whatever. And that's what Becky was, online dry bagging and saying that she needed money to get the dogs out of the pound and stuff like that. So, we're very concerned about Duke and Dakota, especially, knowing how hot it is during the summer and how humid it can be with no airflow. Sorry, Helen. I mean, whatever.
No, I honestly think that if this is really a situation that I have only barely been discovering about these dogs, and then being I only saw the one head stick out of the room, and I know that room is pretty hot, and the way this weather is now this summer, even in like the past summers, it has been even as close to this type of humidity, being as heat waves and everything, that they should try maybe putting their little small dogs in that room, because I've told them many times when I had our family pug Frank in Las Vegas, and Grandma used to have a problem with not listening to me when Ashley and I did our research, my sister, that we did our research about our pug to find out what could be a problem if we kept them outside too long in the heat and humidity in Las Vegas. And it came out with results that this goes for all different small breeds, majority so because more reports are given about the smaller breeds. That if you keep them in anything that is contained with a lot of humidity and heat involving outside, they can get badly sick. They could lose an eye. They can catch cancer, and they could die from dehydration.
Unalive. Come on, you're good. You're good. I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we've called. So and I don't mind saying this. We have definitely called animal control out of the concern and the welfare of those dogs being in that room.